You ever wonder when the biggest pop stars got their first taste of chart domination? Well, in this video, we'll look at artists who hit number 1 for the first time each year, from 2010 to 2024. 2010. We're kicking things off with 2010. First up, Bruno Mars. Back then, he wasn't exactly the superstar we know today. He was just starting off and being featured on hits like Nothing on You by B.O.B. and Billionaire by Travis McCoy. But everything changed when he dropped Just the Way You Are, his first number 1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 that catapulted him to superstardom. It was the beginning of a career filled with hit after hit. Then there was Kesha. No one could escape TikTok in 2010. It was everywhere. The song shot straight to number 1 and stayed there for 9 weeks, making Kesha the party anthem queen practically overnight. It is still her biggest hit. 2011. Fast forward to 2011, and Adele blew everyone out of the water with Rolling in the Deep. This wasn't just a number 1 hit, it was an event. No one expected her to completely own the charts, but Adele did just that with ease. 2011 was her year, with her record-breaking album 21. Rolling in the Deep stayed at number 1 for 7 weeks and set the stage for Adele to dominate with every single release. After that year, she became a global icon. 2012. By 2012, Taylor Swift was already a huge artist, but a number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 still eluded her. Enter We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, the lead single to Red. On the song, she embraced a poppier sound than her previous country tracks. It went straight to number 1, marking Taylor's official crossover into mainstream pop. Little did we know, this was just the start of her reign over the charts, as she is now sitting on 12 number 1 hits in the US. 2013. 2013 was a wild year for the charts, starting with Miley Cyrus. She completely reinvented herself with Wrecking Ball, which hit number 1 and became one of the most controversial pop songs of the year. Before the song's release, she already had 6 top 10 hits, but it became her first chart topper on the Billboard Hot 100. This was in the middle of Miley's bangers era, where she pushed boundaries and dominated the charts. Meanwhile, a 16-year-old Lorde dropped Royals and stunned everyone. It was a minimalist track that sounded nothing like what was popular at the time. And yet, it climbed to number 1, making Lorde one of the youngest solo artists to ever top the chart. Her unique voice and anti-pop anthem flipped the script and set her up for a great career. It's still her only number 1 though. 2014. In 2014, we saw Iggy Azalea score her first number 1 with Fancy featuring Charli XCX. It was also Charli's first and only number 1. The song defined the summer of 2014, and Iggy became the first female rapper to top the Billboard Hot 100 in years, though her career did not quite have the staying power many expected. That same year, Meghan Trainor burst onto the scene with All About That Bass. The song was all over the radio, marking her an instant pop sensation. It hit number 1 and stayed there for 8 weeks, solidifying Meghan's place in pop history, even though it has been tough for her to replicate that success. 2015. 2015 was the year The Weeknd transformed from mysterious underground artist to a global superstar. His first number 1, Can't Feel My Face, was a funky MJ-inspired track that dominated the charts and made him a household name. He went on to score multiple number 1s, but this was a hit that opened the floodgates, as he got another one, The Hills, shortly after. Speaking of transformations, Justin Bieber also had his first real comeback in 2015 with What Do You Mean, his first single after a rough couple of years. Justin returned with a more mature sound, and the song shot to number 1. This was the beginning of Bieber's redemption arc, and the era that would solidify him as one of pop's biggest players. Surprisingly, years into his career, it became his first number 1 single on the Billboard Hot 100, even though it was his 7th top 10 hit. 2016. By 2016, Sia was already well known for writing hits for others and for having a long journey, as she was well into 2 decades of her career. But she finally scored her first solo number 1 with Cheap Thrills. The song was a surprise hit, dominating the summer and giving Sia a well-deserved moment in the spotlight after years of grinding behind the scenes. And let's not forget about Halsey, who got her first taste of number one after being featured on the Chainsmokers' smash hit Closer. The collab was huge, staying at number one for 12 weeks. It put Halsey on the map in a big way and opened the door for her own solo success. She scored a solo number one in 2019 with Without Me. 2017. For 2017, we have Ed Sheeran, who was already a massive name in music. Surprisingly, it wasn't until Shape of You that he got his first number one on the Billboard Hot 100. The song dominated the charts, staying at the top for 12 weeks, and held the title for the most streamed song on Spotify for years. Then there's Cardi B, whose breakout hit Bodak Yellow catapulted her into superstardom. This wasn't just a number one, it was a memorable cultural moment. Cardi became the first solo female rapper to top the charts in nearly 20 years, and the song became an anthem for a while. 2018. 2018 saw pop queens rise to the top. First up, Ariana Grande, who had a steady rise throughout the 2010s, but it wasn't until Thank You Next that she snagged her first number one on the Billboard Hot 100. This was an entire reset in her career, and undoubtedly her peak. The song stayed at the top for 7 weeks, and was followed up by another number one hit 7 rings weeks later. And Camila Cabello also had her moment this year. She broke away from Fifth Harmony and made a solo name for herself with Havana. The track hit number one and turned her into a pop heavyweight. She finally found her sound, putting her solo career in full gear. 2019. 2019 was Billie Eilish's year. At just 17, she hit number one with Bad Guy, making her arrival as one of pop's most unique and alternative voices. She brought an eerie, minimalist sound to mainstream radio that completely shifted the landscape of pop music. She became the youngest artist in history to win all 4 major categories at the Grammy Awards in 1 year, partly thanks to the song's success. Selena Gomez also finally got her first number one in 2019 with Lose You to Love Me. After over a decade in the industry, this emotional ballad brought her to the top of the charts. The song reflected a more vulnerable and stripped-down version of Selena. 2020. 2020 was a historic year for Nicki Minaj, who after a decade of ruling female rap, finally hit number one with her feature on Doja Cat's Say So remix. It was the moment that the Bobs had been waiting for. Nicki finally took the crown, hitting a major milestone. She then finally got her solo number one with Super Freaky Girl in 2022. And we can't forget Harry Styles, who scored his first number one with Watermelon Sugar. The song was a breezy, nostalgic summer anthem that topped the charts and solidified Harry's place as a solo superstar. 2021. 2021 was all about Olivia Rodrigo. She debuted at number one with her heartbreak anthem Driver's License, which blew up overnight. The song became an instant pop culture phenomenon, breaking streaming records and staying at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 for 8 weeks. She followed it up with another number one Good For You months later. Olivia's emotional songwriting and relatable teenage angst struck a chord with listeners worldwide, making her the breakout star of 2021. 2022. In 2022, Steve Lacy hit number one for the first time with Bad Habits. The track that blended indie, R&B, and alternative vibes went viral on TikTok, leading to its massive success on the Billboard charts. But Bad Habit was the song that finally gave him his mainstream breakthrough. Kim Petras also made history when she hit number one due to her collab with Sam Smith on Unholy. 2023. In 2023, SZA finally reached the top with Kill Bill, a hit that showcased her emotional vulnerability and genre-blending style. She was buzzing for a couple of years, ever since her 2017 album Control, but hitting number one was her crowning moment. It was the track that turned her into a household name and solidified her position as a bona fide pop star. J. Cole, a consistent name in hip-hop, also scored his first number one hit in 2023 with his feature on Drake's first-person shooter. After years of success, this collab finally gave him the coveted top spot, proving that his longevity in the game paid off. The song inadvertently started a war, but it was great. 2024. Finally, in 2024, Sabrina Carpenter reached number 1 for the first time with Please Please Please. After years of building her solo career, she hit the top of the charts with her catchy pop hit, marking her official arrival as one of the big players in the industry. It was a surprise that Espresso didn't hit the top spot, because it is one of the biggest songs of the year. Sabrina finally got the breakthrough she had been chasing for years in 2024. Which artists did I miss? Tell me in the comments below.